Hey everybody, welcome into the late night show with the Borg. He is on his way back and working from the state championship games for high school today. So I will be talking to you myself solo, going through the buffet of misery a little bit here with us. And after today. But as always, we are on the Jackrabbit Illustrated YouTube and Facebook page, and the FCS Fans Nation YouTube page as well. As always, Jackrabbit Illustrated is brought to you by our title sponsor, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota, with 9 locations across the great state of South Dakota. There is always a Kubota dealer near you to get yourself into some great orange equipment today. If you have a home, a farmstead, or anything else, they've got the equipment you might need to take care of that property you have. So, with that, we're going to take a trip down the buffet here as I've got the Montana State UC Davis game going. Montana State just gashed Davis for a big run. It's a good game, though, 14-7. If you are watching, I recommend turning it on another TV or device that you got near you. They're on ESPN2. Big game for the playoff picture. Not that we need to do that. Seth Meyer's asking, why is your screen look like I'm making a reel? I'll address that really quick. StreamYard now has the option to do a vertical version if you're on a phone or something, and I didn't know if it was going to turn out nice or not. So I figured we'd give it a whirl. Why not after a game like this? Let's try some new things and see what happens. So let us know if you don't like it. I think it does say you're on mobile, Seth, so that's probably why it's throwing that out there. But Garrett Meyer kicking us off with what a great time to be alive. Witness SDSU football history, the most catastrophic 5 minutes of football that's ever been played. I can't disagree with you. Normally I'm Mr. Positive on this thing. I try to be that way. I make an effort to be that way. That start to that game was horrific. It just was. There's no sugarcoating it, just mistake after mistake after mistake. The muffed kick, the muffed punt, Pelham, who's been incredible all year, not only muffs the snap, but then tries to get the ball and gets hurt. So now you're on your kicker. And being your punter, so you're already kind of behind it there, and you're down 28-0 immediately, 35-0. After not long after that, before the team wakes up, and then they did fight. They showed fight after that. I think that's the positive part. They were able to take advantage of the conservative game plan defensively that Illinois State shifted into, for sure. But the play calling, that first drive, Illinois State knew exactly what every play was. That the very first drive that led to the pick. Henry shouldn't throw that ball. He's got to see that guy's there, but they knew exactly what play was coming on every one of these. Montana State just scored, by the way, 17-7 now. But the play calling was predictable. It was all vertical or horizontal to start, not getting up the field. The run game only averages 1.7 yards per carry. That's not a typo. 1.7 yards per carry. And I know you had to shift to the pass really quick because you're down 35-0. That's what you have to do. But 4 of 19 on third downs, that is bailed out by going 6 of 10 on fourth down. It was 6 of 7 for a while. But you outgain a team again, but you throw two picks, lose a turnover battle, lose a fumble, 3 turnovers to 1. So I'm going to take note of that, and we will not use the mobile layout anymore. So I apologize. I'm not sure if I can remove that at this point. So unfortunately, guys, Bob says, the mobile layout's pretty rough. I thought YouTube was glitched. So I apologize if the layout sucks. I wanted to give it a whirl, and apparently it's not good. So I apologize. That's my fault. You win the time of possession. you win overall yardage, but you average 1.7 yards per carry rushing. That's crazy on 38 rushing attempts. So it's not like they completely abandoned the run game. 38 rushing attempts and you get 66 yards. I mean, that's crazy. But then in really Jack Henry 32-51, but 2 picks, not ideal. You get some passing touchdowns in there. But again, even when you're making the comeback and fighting back, you have dropped passes that should have been touchdowns that just can't happen. You've got to, so then you got the game on the line, 4th and 2, and you run a reverse. I mean, I know you're not getting yards in the run game, but a reverse. What are we doing there? I for the longest time have been a big defender of the play calling and everything, but at this point, I don't know what to tell you. It's too basic. It's too predictable. It's too easy for people to game plan for, and it's killing us. And that's not the only issue. When you're muffing punts, fumbling the ball, throwing pick sixes, it's not just coaching. It's not just coaching. I almost wonder if the team came out too tight in this game, knowing what was on the line, maybe but they just didn't. I want to say too tight, but man, they just did not seem locked in. They came together and put up a hell of a fight. They showed the team eventually that has the parts from a 7-0 team. I think that this is almost exclusively mental with this team right now. And they're not locked in. They can fix it whenever they lock in. I truly believe this team is capable of fixing it. Do I have faith in it right now? Honestly, I don't know. This team hasn't played enough consistent mistake-free ball over the last 4 games for me to say that. This is the first time the Jacks have lost 4 games in a row since 2011, which was coincidentally the last time they didn't make the playoffs. It's the first time they've lost 3 home games in a row since 2011. If they are to lose against UND, I have no idea how long it's been since the Jacks have lost 5 in a row, but I got a feeling you got to go way back to find that. It's just absolutely befuddling. And I almost wonder if this team's I know in the press conference and everything, Coach Jackson says this team's confidence is good. The guys say their confidence is good. But boy, it feels like they're lacking on some confidence. And not coming out locked in. And, my initial thought when the first quarter goes the way it goes is, well, this, I guess, is what happens when you have to bring in a lot of transfers and things start going wrong. Then guys, you got guys who haven't been immersed in the culture to right the ship when things are going poorly. But at the end, they fight back. They play well at, the last, really last 2.5, 3 quarters. Fight back, make a game of it. Should have been a tie game. You drop a touchdown pass, or not a tie game, but should have been a 1-score game. You drop a touchdown pass. I just don't get it. I wish I had some good answers, but it's just crazy. Damien says, how are we struggling with such basic fundamental stuff? And you can attribute that to not being locked in or not being focused or, being too wound tight and second guessing yourself because you're putting too much pressure on yourself every play. I think that the blame's all around. It's, the talent's there. These guys have the talent. They are good enough to go. They're good enough to go up next week, even without Chase Mason, and play a clean, consistent game and get a win in Grand Forks. I absolutely believe they are good enough to do that. But unfortunately, they haven't done that since the NDSU game. And I don't know if the NDSU game broke their confidence and they haven't been able to get it back or what the story is there. But right now, man, Seth says, I don't know that the mistakes were from a lack of fight, just bad breaks that happened, but we had 3 back to back to back. And it was too good of a team to dig that deep of a hole against. I can't fully disagree with it. Um, you know, uh, some of this feels like it's a tidal wave of just bad luck happening all at the same time a little bit. And I'm not saying that this team lost these 4 games in a row because of bad luck, but when it comes, and I don't think injuries are an excuse to come out and play the way they did and then play as well as they did afterwards. That shows you that they can come out and play well. Garrett says we're 10 games in, not sure lack of cohesion is a valid excuse. I wasn't saying cohesion. I don't think it's a cohesion thing. It's a consistency thing. It's being consistent. And that's different than being cohesive as a unit. It's consistent as doing your job every time. And we're not doing it right now. These things are just one mental error at a time. Just keep coming to bite this team and bite this team and bite this team. It's really wild. That was the worst football I've seen from an SDSU team ever. I think that especially that first quarter was worse than the Indiana State game by far. And it's just wild to have that happen with a team that was that started the season 7-0. Like, they didn't suddenly all forget how to play football. And yeah, we've had some injuries, and yes, it was been a tough stretch, but this is crazy. This is beyond that, and I don't know how to make sense of it fully. And I think that's the coaching staff's dilemma. And I certainly think at this point, play calling factors into it a little bit as well. There are things where, like in the secondary, struggling to cover guys in the, that I think that's a little bit just who we are there. You need to get more pressure on from there, from the defensive line or something to try to give those guys some help. But I mean, that first touchdown that they threw, he faked a little bit inside, and our D-back is just standing in cement, it looks like, as he's wide open on a little out route for the touchdown. It happened right in front of us. It was kind of startling. There was certainly some calls that, maybe all of us don't agree with or whatever, but refs had nothing to do with losing this game like this. That's for sure. Seth Meyer says Pelham had a similar bad break against MSU, but it was the only one in that game, and we could overcome it. Yeah. I don't think fumbling a pooch kick like that is a bad break. I think that's a mental error. You got to make that catch. I mean, you can't do that. You can't give that away. That's why teams do that. That's their goal. But a good team doesn't do that when they're playing well. That doesn't happen whatsoever. Seth says the last 2 games we played 110 of 120 minutes evenly against 2 playoff teams, with a freshman quarterback making his first 2 starts. The results don't show it, but I think we responded well to the Indiana State debacle. I think, holistically, sure, they've played a lot better, but at some point you've got to win, and you've got to play better the whole game. And Garrett Meyer says chase or no chase, quarterback play is not the issue over 4 games, nor is defensive play as a whole. Yeah, I don't think you can put this on the defense. I think Matt went through it in our group chat that we have, but the start of the game, it goes let's see, pick 6, special teams mess up, and then a nice drive by Illinois State. The first drive for Illinois State is 100% on the defense, but then I don't think the defense should be catching a lot of heat. Certainly not Brian Bergstrom. Offensively, I don't know. Garrett says chase or no chase, quarterback's not the issue over 4 games, nor is the defensive play as a whole. I don't think when you come out and play like that, I don't care who's quarterback. And Zach, the Borg, he had a tweet about it, how it doesn't matter what quarterback you have out there when you come out and start a game like that and go down 35-0. I will say, in the moment, it I don't like when we boo our own team. I don't think that should be a thing. And I think it's something we gotta. It's unfortunate that happened, especially on senior day. And I said on Twitter, I don't have a lot of defense to it, and or way to push back, and I don't. I just think as a fan base, I do think we don't need to be doing that. I think the team knows plenty well how they weren't playing, and kudos to them for not even it didn't even come up in the press conferences, and they took their. I will say this: they take full accountability, especially Dan Jackson as a whole takes accountability on this, and going forward in the future, I have all the faith in the world that, and we'll get into that, probably after next show, what the next season looks like and everything, but I have full faith in the world that Dan Jackson will get the ship righted and everything like that. And when it comes to him and his tenure, I think that's definitely a mulligan year. However, we're not there yet. It's still this season, and I think when it comes to this season, you've got to have some guys step up. You've got to have guys make the plays in the big moments, and it's not happening right now. Football games and close games with ranked teams come down to 1 to 5 plays a game and who makes the plays. And right now, the Jacks are not the ones making those plays. Seth Meyer says, yeah, bad break probably isn't the right choice of word, but those kind of mistakes do happen and can be over time come if they're a one-off. Pelham's punt against MSU, Muff punt against Sac State, etc. Yes, but Dan Jackson, I think, put it best. You can overcome those things when you've got that much better talent than the other guys that you're facing. It's a lot easier to overcome that. And right now with the injuries, you can't just say that the margin of error is a lot thinner right now with the amount of young guys thrust into roles that they haven't developed for yet. They haven't quite gotten to that point yet to be able to do that. And it's a killer. You make those mistakes, and I mean, if you make one less of those mistakes at the start of the game, all of a sudden it's 28-21, and that was a drop pass to tie the game. And how much different does it go from there? How much pressure does Illinois State put on themselves if you get it if it's within a touchdown towards the end of the game? I don't know. But I do know you definitely, like Ron Lowney says, you can't spot a team 35 points, and you certainly can't spot a Brock Spack coach team 35 points ever. You can never, ever, ever do that. That's for sure. But I'm going to take a quick break here and mention one of our late night shows sponsors, Dreamers Do Travels. Dreamers Do Travels with Amy Dix. They'll get you set up with any sort of vacation or travel plans you may want to make. They can take a lot of that work off of your plate and take care of the stress of finding where to go, how to travel, what to do, and take care of that for you and get you set up with a sweet vacation, get you a bunch of great discounts you would never know where to look or find or have to hunt for hours and hours on end. They already know where that stuff is. They've got the expertise to save you a ton of money and get you a great trip. So go and contact Amy Dix at Dreamers Do Travels. You can just Google Dreamers Do Travels, Amy Dix, and it will show right up in your Google search. Get yourself set up for a Disney vacation, a cruise, all-inclusive resorts, anything along those lines. Amy Dix and Dreamers Do Travels will get you hooked up. And, maybe you want to surprise your wife or partner with a trip they've always wanted to go on. Amy Dix will help you set that up and make it a dream come true vacation for you to get set up on and take them on a trip. Why not do it? So, Dreamers Do Travels, we're very thankful for them being a sponsor, and Amy Dix, we really appreciate that. Um, Beyond that, we still got Borg coming here. He was just at I think he said he'll be up and running in 10 to 15 minutes at 11:37. And so yeah, he should be on here any moment now. But we'll go over some of the notable results across the country. It's 24-7, by the way, in the Montana State UC Davis game. So liking that a lot for my picks. But there was some fairly large upsets today. Western Carolina, who looked like they should be a playoff team, ends up losing to East Tennessee State 52-35 in a crazy game. Of course, it's a Western Carolina game, so it's probably not going to be super low scoring. And of course, they still have 426 yards passing, 33-48 for Teron Dickens, and he goes 33-48 for 8.9 yards per pass. But they end up dropping that game, and they are pretty squarely out of the playoffs with that result. Youngstown State beats up on Indiana State 48-29. UND pummels Murray State, but not quite as much as the spread thought. So 35-17 for Murray State, or for UND over Murray State. Obviously our game, but then a couple other notable ones. Monmouth bounces back after the loss, wins 63-19 over North Carolina A&T. Rhode Island pummeled Maine. I'm trying to find where the score is here. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yale beats Princeton 13-10 in a tighter game than it should have been. Rhode Island and Maine was 45-13. Damien says, how about USD? Yes, that was a wild one. A 5 overtime thriller against Southern Illinois, 53-51 in 5 overtimes. I did not see the end of it. I saw some comments from the Sockluki fans complaining about some refereeing there that they claim cost them the game. I don't know about that one way or the other. But a wild one there. Maybe Borg has a little more insight. Not that I really feel talking about USD's successes tonight. Harvard squeaks by Penn 45-43. I believe they won that game on a walk-off field goal, if I remember seeing that right. So that was a scare for Harvard, but they are still in the hunt to get I would argue, potentially a top 4 seed. Lehigh beats Colgate 27-7. They'll stay highly ranked. Tennessee Tech, one of the games we picked for Scared Money Don't Make Money, plays Kentucky. Kentucky wins 42-10, killing my deal, but that's my pick, but that shouldn't affect them. That's for sure. Austin P avoids potentially stubbing their toe and killing their playoff hopes. They beat Samford 30-16. Garner Webb beats Tennessee State 30-14. I'm just kind of ripping off some potential playoff teams here as we go. Seth Meyer says walk-off 53-yard field goal for Harvard. Yep, I was right. Garrett Meyer says controversy in the Southern Illinois USD game was USD was awarded a timeout they allegedly didn't have, which is interesting. And then but other games of note, Presbyterian beats St. Thomas 23-9. So they are, I believe, technically still alive to win the Pioneer League title, which is kind of wild. So they could still make the playoffs, and then they'll get their chance to prove how good they are or are not. And I'm betting it's are not. Abilene Christian, who has the weirdest resume of anybody in the FCS, in my opinion, wins 17-10. I say they have the weirdest resume because they have lost to Tulsa, lost to TCU, so neither of those really matter. They've got a loss to Incarnate Word when Incarnate Word was not playing well, and a loss to Southern Utah, who will be probably a fringe playoff team, but I make it. But then they've got wins over ranked Tarleton, at the time ranked West Georgia, a ranked Austin P, and then a ranked Stephen F. Austin. So of their wins, like 2/3 of them are ranked teams. They avoid the upset with Eastern Kentucky, so that's a big deal for them in playoffs coming around. I think they will be able to get in if they finish off with this last game and win there. Beyond that, just going through a couple more games. West Georgia beats Utah Tech, even though they're not eligible this year. They're still looking pretty damn good for being in their second year of the changeover. Mercer continues to look really good. They beat Chattanooga 63-17. And Southeast Louisiana barely avoids the upset with Incarnate Word. They win 10-7 in a absolute shootout. NDSU pummels Northern Iowa as we expected, 48-16. Yeah, McKinnell, you're late. That is unacceptable. I'm gonna hold it against you. Bigger news: the Southland title was decided tonight. Stephen F. Austin beats Lamar 26-15. Big shout out to our buddy the Rev. If you don't know the Rev, then you might know him as the guy in the bunny costume at the national title games. So really happy for him, our other Jack's brother from a different mother. So excited for them to get their first conference championship in quite a while, lock up making the playoffs. Hopefully they can get a home game in the first round. I'd be very happy for them for that. They could potentially be a fringe top 10 seed. Tarleton State comes out and absolutely slaughters North Alabama 61-0. And Sac State pulls off the win against Idaho 23-20, which will set up a potential playoff game or the one that'll get them into the playoffs in the Causeway Classic against UC Davis. They win 23-20, giving them a 7-4 record. And that game against UC Davis could potentially be a play-in game for the playoffs. Ty Wicks says maybe Borg fell asleep, and I think that's not nice to me because he's been hiding in the background as I'm going through some of these scores. So we're gonna pull up the Borg. He is back from Vermilion and having to be in the dome. And yeah, so welcome, Borg. You are just in time. I was almost talked out really quick, just because I don't want to forget. We're just going to bring up our partners, the JFPA and Wooden Legs Brewing. Get down to Wooden Legs Brewing. They have the finest selection of beers in Brookings that you can ask for. They always have something for everyone's tastes. So go down to Wooden Legs Brewing. We have our weekly segment with Chad reviewing quickly one of their beers every B team show. So yeah, be sure to tune in and he'll talk about another one and maybe you'll find one that you're really interested in. So beyond that, Borg, it's been a miserable, awful, terrible, no good day. Nobody's happy. But I'm sure you have more sunshine and rainbows for us here today.
Well, it was a nice fall day. I mean, weather was like in the 50s, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah. Well, it was weird. I will say one thing. I called you today. I don't know if you saw my missed call. I forgot
oh,
about
that
the
was
state
okay.
championships. Yeah, that was me, and I was gonna see if you were tailgating, and because I forgot about that. Should have known it was gonna be a weird day from the start.
Yeah,
As we're tailgating, we get an alert about an active shooter, which was put out as an abundance of caution because there was a terrible tragedy out on the bypass where 71-year-old man apparently attempted to take his own life on the side of the road on the bypass. And from our tailgate, we see the cops and the ambulance go. We don't know what happened. We just know that happened. And then all of a sudden you've got an active shooter alert, but you're sitting there looking at that and kind of the ambulance is gone and it's just a cop car with the van waiting for it to get picked up. And you're going, I think we're fine. And you got cops driving by and nobody's saying be on the lookout for anything. They're just driving by and waving. It's like, I think this is just a delay in the system, and that goes away. So it was a super weird start to the game. And
yeah.
then
I'd read a
McShane
little
gets
bit about.
ejected immediately and it was downhill from there.
Yeah, probably the second straight SDSU home game. I'm rather happy I was at the Dakota Dome instead. because obviously the last time they were home, I was the Indiana State game, and I was at the Dome for the UND USC game. So,
Right.
But like I said, I think I said when they were down 21, I'm like, guys, maybe it's just time. If you're not at the game, maybe it's just time to go take a nice walk on a fall day. Don't worry about life. Don't worry about football. Just get outside and enjoy the fall day. Because, that went, But, I told you and I said, we have a duty to people here to show up because Lord knows it took the football team about a quarter to show up, apparently. I guess in all seriousness, all you can do is kind of have some gallows humor at this point after a game like that. Because I guess the one serious note I'll say is that more than likely was the final home game of the season. I mean, I guess in some way, if they do win at UND next week, they could get a higher. The thing is, if they do get to the playoffs, you want them playing at home because they've been a better road team. Even when they were healthy,
right?
What was the most impressive home game they had this year? And
Sac State, I guess.
And even in that game, they got sacked 8 times.
Mercyhurst probably the most.
Yeah, but even
impressive.
But yeah, I mean, but obviously you're talking Mercyhurst. I mean, it's Mercyhurst.
Right.
I mean, it probably the best game they probably had was Sac State, and Sac State still is kind of a fringe playoff team. I mean, if Sac State beats Davis next week, they probably would get in. But I mean, even even in that game, they got sacked 8 times and left a number of points on the board. So but their best performances have been on the road. You go to obviously the Montana State win, but now that Youngstown win looks a lot better. And even last week, they played infinitely better in Vermilion in a hostile environment than they have in their last 3 home games. So, I mean, I'd say that's I said that online. I'd say that's a silver lining because Lord knows I know people are looking for some right now as they go up to, UND, a place where historically they have, imagine Sac State getting in and I had a Sac State fan going back and forth with me who's still drinking the Kool-Aid about how they're going to be this FBS program or whatever, but I mean, it's just, it's hard to kind of put into words other than the fact it was basically, I mean, I think you'd have to commend them. They kept fighting and they obviously had a chance. And again, obviously, for those who don't know, again, I was at the, I think I took my pass off to my state champ. I was obviously at state football and we had the 11A game at noon and then the 11 AAA game just wrapped up here at like a little bit ago, and I was doing a lot of work for Forum and Sioux Falls Live and Midwest, and a lot of that's online, by the way, now, so go check that out. I'll probably send out some links during the show. But, it's one of those things where they get off this horrible start, and they did keep fighting back, so obviously I think that's an encouraging thing, and they, as I rather, again, the gallows humor in me said, well, to my wife, I'm like, well, at least they won 21-0 after they got down 35-0. But
it should have been more with drop touchdowns. I mean,
yeah, and well, the part that I really was able to key in on after that 11A game ended was they were down 35-21, and they had a ball where Bullock was it's either Bullock or Bullock. I don't know how they pronounce it now, but he was open in the end zone, and it just went through his hands, and they would have been within 7 with the entire fourth quarter to go. And you felt like at that point, man, Illinois State was just teetering on the edge. And if he hauls that touchdown in and it's a 7-point game with the entire fourth quarter left, man, and I've also got, by the way, I've got the Montana State UC Davis game on above me, which is what I'm looking up at every now and then. So it did, so I mean, I think Matt Zimmer put that in his column. It was an admirable comeback attempt considering how badly that thing started. But, I mean, what do you say? I don't want to seem like I'm coming off too harsh or, not, but, I have to be a little critical. And it's like that first quarter, some of it's bad luck, some of it, but he just, I don't know what to say. That has got to be one of the absolute worst starts I've ever heard of or seen for any team in a football game at any level. I've never heard of it going that poorly or that badly.
When you get Matt Zimmer to tweet, "This is pathetic,"
yeah.
I've never seen him be that negative before.
Oh, poor man.
Because it just was.
I just, and I had some people saying, there's people like, well, is it the coaching? Is it this? I mean, it's everything right now. I mean, it's not all coach. Again, that's the first thing people are always going to say. Oh, it's the coach. I mean, guys, when they drop a punt snap or when a guy throws a pick six, that's not the coach can't. That's not all coaching. I'm sorry. Some of this stuff is just some of it's either Murphy's Law or just a kid makes a bad play. I mean, but there certainly is some stuff in here that I'm sure the coaches will tell you that they're not happy with or that they could do better. This whole team is fighting itself right now, every aspect of it. And I don't know how you get out. They got to find a way out. They got to find a way to get a win. They just got to find a way to get a win at UND next week because I don't think I think Murphy was there in person. Good one.
Yeah, right.
I can't argue with. Oh, there were probably a few Murphys in that crowd, so I guess that counts too. But I just, and I've seen things where they were still predicted to maybe make the playoffs if they were 7-5, but after that first quarter, I mean, when I say I said my thing, it's like it's that first quarter was disqualifying. Like,
yep.
How does the committee, even if they were to lose a close game at UND, and UND is now fighting for its playoff life too. I think and I mean, frankly, UND did not have a great game today. They struggled in a game that looked maybe had some flashbacks to what happened with SDSU, in when they played there, but at Murray State. But UND's probably fighting for its playoff life right now. But even if you have a close loss in Grand Forks, how does the committee look? It's more than just the resume. It's how you're playing. They have to take into account how a team is playing going into the tournament. And while, you can say that, well, we had two really good close losses against a good UND team and what has been a very good USC team at the end. I mean, that first quarter, the Indiana State game, I mean, those are like the warts. I mean, those are you just can't avoid them. So I don't, in other years, if they'd gone 7-5 and been like spaced it out, maybe they could have made the playoffs with their resume, but not on a 5-game losing streak and not the way it's happening now. It's just, it's I'd love to, I can't be a sunshine pumper here. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and Buford Hornweasel says, I don't think 3-5 conference play gets in, and it shouldn't. I don't think you should.
This is a great conference, but it should not.
Yeah, you have to at least go 500 in conference. Conference play has to matter for something. Wins have to matter for something. I mean,
you lost to one of the worst teams in the conference.
Yeah, you want to make the playoffs, don't lose to Indiana State. But beyond that, even I think this team has shown they're capable of going up and winning this game. And they've also done everything in the world to show you to not be confident that they'll do that.
They've shown you everything that they could go put together a great performance, win, or lose a heartbreaking game the way they did a year ago. It feels like a year ago right now.
Right.
Some of the earlier wins, they've shown you enough to where they could put together, well, I don't want to say it's tough to say that win because while they've shown you flashes, certainly more during maybe the USD game, but when they finally stopped getting out of their own way today, they've shown you flashes, but they haven't been able to put it together enough,
Yeah, I don't know. Seth Meyer saying where we could be if Jack Henry came into the game against Murray after Chase went down. I still believe that if you're not winning the NDSU game with Jack Henry anyways, and I think I
No.
know Seth knows that. But I don't know if you win the Indiana State game with him in there anyways, because that was a holistic team thing that I don't think one quarterback was dragging out of the muck. It was just awful. Yeah, ROT, love you, buddy. We're in the same boat there, man.
Oh God.
He says I hate football,
Well, I mean, this isn't.
and
I mean, and yeah, I think somebody else. I think Jordan's saying at this point, can we all agree that Chase is done for the year? I mean, I think it's. I think I said after the Indiana State game, or even that we shouldn't maybe be counting on him to come back. I mean, I had people last week telling me, "Oh, he's going to be playing this." I mean, I wouldn't. I know Chase wants to come back. I know that is true, but
right.
there's just because an athlete is dying to get back out there doesn't mean, if it's especially in a college kid's case. Be one thing if you were a pro, like if
right.
if it's a professional athlete who's getting paid millions of dollars, then he can risk his own body. But this is also a college kid, so you can't mess with their health. I know Chase Mason wants to be out there worse than anything, guys, but if he's not, then it's not because he's not tough enough or he doesn't want to be out there. He's not good. It's just not good enough to go out there on that whatever it is. We still don't know exactly what it is, but yeah. I would not count on it.
Yeah. So 2 things on that. One, Zach, our buddy Blue Blood, Zach McKinnell says, I don't think it's all QB issues. The rushing attack is abysmal. Absolutely. And the defense isn't playing well either. I don't think the defense is playing as poorly as it's made out to be. If you just look at today, first drive, I went over this a little earlier, but first drive, absolutely on the defense. Then it's special team screw up, pick 6, special team screw up, and short drive. And that's so I'd say, no, are they playing great? No, I don't think they're playing poorly either. But all that to say, if I'm the committee and personally as an SDSU fan, and for all SDSU fans, unless they come out and say Chase Mason is starting, don't believe that Chase Mason's starting until we see it. And if I'm the committee, I don't trust if SDSU, for the people out there who would like to argue that, well, we haven't had Chase Mason, give us a break. We should be able to get in because of Chase Mason, and he'll be back for the playoffs. If SDSU tells the committee that Chase Mason's back for the playoffs, I still don't care. That shouldn't get them in. They really shouldn't.
I mean, look, what did you just hit on one thing? And you're right. I think I was kind of harsh on the defense earlier today. They're not playing as well as they were at the start. As a whole, they're not. But again, I would argue the injuries on the defensive side to Van Tol, to Kirschenman's injury at the Montana State game is one that has kind of flown under because we forgot. It's been so long now. That one was a killer injury. Now, I think their pass rush has been non-existent, unfortunately. So that's where I think the defense has kind of fallen apart. And, I think their defensive line, I've heard people say they're kind of relying on, just the same 3 guys. It seems like Jace Cyfor has had a couple of nice games back to back. So they're starting to see some other guys. So
yeah, they're not rotating through,
but they're not having. It's not the same level of rotation that you're right. It's not the same level of rotation they had. So I think those guys are wearing down a little more because they're having to rely on the same core guys. But that's it's a depth issue with some of the injuries, and then frankly with guys who might have Bryce Hawthorne, who's at Iowa. I mean, he would have been an absolute stud to have still had. Now they probably wouldn't have kept him anyway.
We're week 10.
But I'm just saying this is. I mean, there's issues. You've got issues with injuries and depth, and there's guys who are just not yet ready,
right,
to make the kind of impact. So they're just not in that same position they've been in the past, where they could effectively rotate the lines the way, hopefully now if that continues into next season where they're still not able to effectively, then I would be more worried. But again, I don't want to say you give them a full mulligan, but again, with what the staff had to deal with in terms of the turnover, people hitting the portal, just this year, I think it's a little more understandable that they're dealing with some depth issues in places. But if that continues for another year, then you start to worry a little more. But yeah, I just the pass rush has not been there. It wasn't there last week against USD, especially when you have a quarterback in Bauman who can't run. Rittenhouse can run a little bit, but last week that should have been a game. I think they got 2 sacks on him last week, but in the crunch time when they needed to get to him, they couldn't really do it. So I think it's that's kind of the thing. It's just, but the one thing I was going to make a point of, we've been talking, to the point of like, well, it's not just Chase. Have we not been down the road with the special teams all year that this is going to be something that's got to get
the field goal
better
unit like we thought it was going to be, though?
Yeah, it's not the field goal.
It was the field goal unit, and now it's kick returns, and it's
kick returns. It's the punter dropping the snaps. It's an
incredible punter. I would argue the best punter in the country.
No, he's fine when he's fine when he can catch the snap. What was that? God, was that similar to the, obviously he had the other one where the touchdown at Montana State where it was kind of like he just totally whiffed on it. But the special teams this year, again, you're right. The irony being Eli Stater has kind of locked down that job after looking like he'd lost it at a point.
Right.
And I just, but to the point of like, oh, well, if they just get Chase back, they're going to be open. No, there's, the reality is for a lot of reasons, this team is just not that good right now to be making these kind of mistakes. And, obviously you're very spoiled as a fan base if you're SDSU. And I think Zach McKinnell makes another good point here. Ogroski being out. God, if you had Ogroski and Bullock on both ends, and you had Jack Smith working your seams, good Lord. But, at the same time, it's just there's just so many. Again, the injuries are what everybody deals with them. And if anything, I think SDSU kind of got lucky the last couple of years that they didn't have a bunch of crushing injuries.
They had the last couple of years, they had tons of injuries, but they had so much depth you didn't know.
Yeah. Obviously, you go back to 2022, you had Tucker Kraft. He missed a lot of time.
Yep.
But they still had a lot of, you still had Zach Hines in rotation.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You had the depth that it was absorbable. And that's not there this year. It was never going to be there this year.
Yeah. The one time that they, again, I started saying this around the time after that NDSU game. This was reminding me of 2019. I think the big difference here is it's hit them in a place that they don't. You're right. They don't have the depth all around. Mm-hmm. That year, it just hit them in a lot of play. It hit them at key spots like a quarterback and running back, and they just couldn't overcome that. They didn't have it, and it's kind of done both in a sense. It's hit them at quarterback, running back. They've never really had it to begin with, and now it's also hit them on every other part of the team essentially. And they don't, you're right, they don't, for reasons, whether it's the portal, whether it's, just a lot of different reasons, they just don't have that depth as a team. But, it still doesn't necessarily go to explain the effort against Indiana State.
Right.
What happened in the first quarter and a half. It's just, there are certain things that you should, that you can't just, some things, there's some bad luck, but some of this you just can't. You're like, what at that point? That's all you can really say. What? Other than people who are booing, I guess.
So right, couple things. Seth Meyer, that again, this comment, that's the same thing we already talked about where I tried that layout. That must just be how it does it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering what that was.
So,
My face is kind of half cut off here.
yeah. So there's a
got a
there's
big
a
enough head
vertical
anyway.
and then there's not a vertical, and it's a whole one's supposed to be optimized for mobile versions, and safe to say I won't be using it anymore. And then
It's
Buford
interesting.
Hornweasel, you sound like a Big Sky fan because the Missouri Valley Football Conference is most certainly not down this year.
I would argue it's better than it was a hell of a lot better than it was a
If-
year ago. Even when
Yeah,
even when
if
you
the
had
Valley plays anyone in the Big Sky not without Montana in their name, they're gonna dog walk the shit out of them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident in saying that, except for boy,
I do think Montana
I think
State
pretty much
really
any
good,
one of
yeah.
those the teams that make it in, it may, yeah, I think they're gonna slap them. I think they're gonna slap them hard.
I mean, you see,
The Big Sky sucks this year.
yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
not.
say it. The
I
Big
mean,
Sky
the fact Sac State is
sucks
the fact
compared to
Sac
what they
State is.
usually are.
I had the same Sac State fan bragging to me that they're fourth in an elite conference. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's a
I'd
top
take
heavy.
the
It's basically
I'll
what the
take the
Valley was a year
UAC.
ago.
Yeah, I'll take the UAC over the Big Sky right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically what the Valley was a year ago, where you just have, and frankly, it's worse than the Valley was a year ago because you had 3 elite teams in the Valley and
Right.
a lot of other crap.
Yep.
We're really not sure if there's one elite team right now in the Big Sky. Is it Montana? Is it Montana State?
I think Montana State looks like it. They are absolutely laying the wood. They just scored another touchdown. It's about to be 31-10.
Even for
Taco
them, 30
Dollar's
to
brother got 2 picks tonight. Now one of them was.
even for them, 30-10 over Davis isn't the biggest whooping, but Davis is a good team. They've been
Davis
they're a little
is
banged up this year, but
top 10 some places.
Well, I think they had some injuries they dealt with too that kind of took them down a notch. But it's obviously going to come down to the Brawl of the Wild next week to decide who wins that. But
yeah, Zach McKinnell saying hot take of the night. Youngstown State really might make a run to the semifinals if they get a good draw. The offense is humming right now. I can't disagree with you.
Get them on the opposite side of NDSU, and
because well, I mean, honestly, yeah. They gave NDSU's defense, Bo Brungard gave NDSU's defense all sorts of fits. I think he's given everybody fits. I think he's a nightmare for anybody he plays. That includes your Bob Kittens, Ron. He is a nightmare for anybody to face up against. And if I absolutely don't see any reason they can't go on a run if they get a decently favorable draw.
Shades of 2016.
Right. Yeah. Bringing him back. That'd be great. I really like Doug Phillips at Media Day. He was great to meet up with. Really, really wish the best for him. That'll be fantastic if we're able to get him. If he's able to do that, I'll be excited for him. That'd be very cool.
It's definitely not. The Big Sky is just, like I said, the fact Sac State is fourth. When they haven't beaten anybody and they haven't even played Montana State is just, like I said, the Valley a year ago was down, but it had 3 elite teams that you knew, maybe with the exception of USD because they hadn't been that far yet, but otherwise you pretty well knew those 3 teams were going to be in the semifinals, and they all were.
Right.
I think only one of them is guaranteed. I could still see if I'm guessing we could see a scenario where we get a 2 and a 3 with Montana and Montana State, and they line it up so you can see them in a semifinal.
Well, if they do it there's a real world where that's just what their resumes justify. That same as SDSU and NDSU last year. Quickly before we get into too much playoff prognostication.
Yeah, we can do that next week. Hopefully.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well,
I don't. What does a bracketology show around here look like if
right, it'd be wild.
Playoffs?
Wild. Yeah, I think we'll probably only be doing Scared Money Don't Make Money shows for the rest of the year.
We're doing a funeral show if they lose next week. Good Lord.
Right. But thanks to our sponsors, Innovative Engineering Solutions LLC, their mechanical engineering services in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and surrounding states. They're licensed in South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Colorado, Wisconsin, North Dakota, Wyoming, Nevada, Missouri, MX, which I assume is Mexico, Kansas, Montana, Florida, Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, Illinois, Utah, Ohio, Michigan. They were founded in 2005. They deliver high-performance mechanical engineering design services for both new construction and renovation projects based in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They specialize in HVAC and plumbing systems designed to meet the unique needs of each client while ensuring full compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. They proudly support a diverse range of commercial clients, including multifamily housing developers, office and retail spaces, auto dealerships, banks, churches, schools, and other commercial facilities. They don't punt on their design. Their experienced team includes licensed engineers, skilled designers, and expert CAD technicians. They utilize industry-leading tools like Revit and 3D Plus software to tackle designs that are not just functional, but a touchdown every time. Their commitment is to client satisfaction. That is their top priority. They listen, they collaborate, and they deliver smart, energy-efficient systems that perform reliably for years to come. So thank you to our partners, Innovative Engineering Solutions, LLC. Anyways, on that, Zach McKinnell says, yeah, as long as the game is close, I'd keep Montana State in the top 3 seeds. I pretty well agree with that.
Yeah.
As tempting as it is for me to argue for someone like Harvard, their strength of schedule is garbage. As much as I love to pee on the Tarleton
Seth here
Tailtuckers,
has a comment too that if a Valley team got a draw with Lehigh or Tennessee Tech, he'd feel like the Valley. I think it was Sam Herder who had before the games. It was Sam or somebody had a bracketology where they had SDSU and USD in a bracket that was basically on the other end of NDSU, and it was I looked at both. I'm like, I'm USD and SDSU. I would love that draw. I think they would have had to go to the 6th seed and maybe ends up spitting them out at Montana State. But
right,
if now we'll see what those we'll see what that would actually. If you're SDSU, you just hope you're in a situation where we can talk about potential playoff draws next week. USD is obviously in now, but the draws that I was seeing last week, I'm like, again, because I know Zimmer has said this a few times. Who really, other than NDSU, who I don't think they're quite as generational as people were trying to make them out to be, even though they're undefeated and probably still going to win the whole thing. But I think we've seen that there are some cracks there that,
if Cole Payton doesn't play out of his mind, they are gettable for a good team.
I feel like that could have been said last year though with Cam Miller. If Cam Miller didn't play out of his mind, I felt like they were unbeatable. They were beatable at times.
Yeah,
they were. We saw them blow at what seemed like an insurmountable lead in the final minutes at USD. But it's obviously NDSU is going to be the easy favorite, but it's one of those things where it's I saw the draws that USD and SDSU had, especially if they're on the other end of a bracket with NDSU. Yeah, you're going to have to go to Montana or Montana State at some point, but if you there's not really, even as badly as SDSU is playing right now, I would not be all that afraid to go to anybody who's not a Montana school.
What a play by Penix.
Ooh,
that might. I wonder if he's got an illegal man downfield. Nice little shovel pass for a touchdown.
Is he the brother of the Washington, of the guy who's in the NFL?
I don't think so.
They don't look related. I was wondering.
Yeah. Borg says, with how SDSU's playing now, I wouldn't say any game is a guarantee for them. They could get blown out by some of these other teams. I don't disagree.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying nothing is that. I don't think anybody's that imposing if you're going outside. Again, other than going to a Montana or Montana State, I don't think anybody in that playoff field is that makes you shake in your boots. I'm like if I'm USD right now, I'm feeling really confident of, as long as you get a good draw and you don't have to go to NDSU or Montana State in the second round, why not?
Yeah. Well, and God, this will make me throw up. This could be their year. If you look at
I'm not going to go that far yet, but
and I'm not saying national title, but to go on a magical run. just
Well,
looking at just some way some of the bounces have gone. That catch in the SDSU game going down to score before half was, I'm willing to bet, the best catch that USD wide receivers made this year, because it was unbelievable. It was an incredible diving catch to advance them down the
Fenner
field.
guy.
Fenner's a stud, and
I hope
that was a crazy catch. But then you win in 5 overtimes with
now to
what
be fair. Okay,
with what Southern Illinois in a wild finish on the road.
mini rant. I hate the overtime system.
I love it. I love it.
I don't like these going for 2-point conversions. That's a cheap version of an overtime.
Switching to do just 2-point conversions is dumb.
That's the dumb part. That's the part I hate.
Start at 25 and just do drive after drive that way. That's
how it basically used to be. I don't.
Right.
And then again
to the NFL version.
Yeah, and then obviously after one drive or 2 drives, make them go for 2-point conversions instead of point afters. I agree there. Like I hate. Like it was you think 5 overtime game. You think, man, what an outlet. They're just going for fucking 2 points. I shouldn't say that.
That a boy. Yes.
They're not showing my logo, my company logo
right over
there.
They're
just going for 2-point conversions in the 3rd overtime. It's so cheap and cheesy and stupid. I hate. Again, that's not taking anything away from USD. That was a hell of a game. I was watching on the laptop as I was kind of in between games. It's just so stupid that we are deciding games with a 2-point conversion play. It's like, it kind of reminds me of baseball where they, do the whole put a runner at second thing, which I guess I'm a little more forgiving of, because when you play 162 games, you don't want to kill your you get a little sick of killing your bullpen, but at the same time, I also think that's a bit of a cop out. But yeah, I think with USD, I think the bigger thing beyond that is just they need to get back in the playoffs. You want to keep this is why I say it's still important for SDSU to just make the playoffs, which I know we didn't think was going to be an issue at one point. You just want to keep the momentum going. You want to keep your program in the right baseline, obviously, for what SDSU invests, you expect them to be in the playoffs, number one.
Right.
But for where USD has been, obviously, where the season had started for them, a lot of people didn't think they had a shot at it. And, the worst part about that would have been people start thinking, okay, well, they're going to go back to being what they were, which was the team that couldn't make the playoffs and was just going, winning 3-4 games. They had this nice little 2-year run, but it's over and they're back to being what they were. Whatever happens now for them in the playoffs, they overcame a really bad start. They got back to the playoffs. That's the thing. They need to. I don't think they've got I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think they've got a. I don't know if they've got a deep run with this team. I don't know if they have a national title run with this team, but you just need to keep, as I said, I've tried to, I know sometimes Coyote fans don't like that, and I know Jackrabbit fans. I try to parallel where SDSU was when they were building it, where USD was. You just need to keep making the playoffs, keep getting in, because, if they had gone backwards this year and gone 4-7 or 4-8, that would have been a crushing blow after you'd had 2 really successful years. So you want to just keep getting that consistency within your program, and they've got that at the very least. Now we'll see if they can, keep taking, that's the thing. Obviously, SDSU, you kept building that thing up. You kept getting a little further in the playoffs, and eventually the dam has to break. I don't think it's going to be this year for USD, but it was just important for them to just get back in the playoffs. And Lamar is still not a great team, but it's not as bad. It's not Indiana State. Let's just leave it at that.
Right.
That's all we can really say about that one. No, it is what it is. I think they probably do. I don't know. USD got in the rankings for a long time after they were. I was
going to say, I don't think SDSU will drop out of the rankings now.
They're going to be close.
Should? Yes,
Good.
probably. Do I think they will? No, because well, okay, depends on the poll. Redshirt sports, probably. That poll is all people who pay attention, and in general, the number of people who do slot vote or do crazy things is small compared to the stats. Stats poll probably stays in there. A lot of slot voting in there, a lot of SIDs and things like that, and people who don't have to be accountable for their votes, so they probably hang in there for no real great reason. And then the coaches poll, they'll hang in there for sure because that's the penultimate slot voting poll on the planet. So no, I don't think quite yet they get dropped out. So that streak will probably survive at least another week. If the Jacks come out and win, then I think they're firmly back in the top 25. But it's going to be a whole thing. So
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know how much that matters. Just get the one win and get to the playoffs. That's about all you can really
right.
hope for at this point. And it's, I don't know. We'll see. It is what, like I said, this team has played better on the road. You're trying to search for the silver linings, and we'll see. I mean, I like to see them get in, but I read some of Zimmer's column too, and it's just been interesting. I mean, now I haven't been at practices, so I don't know what the vibe's like there. You had I think you mentioned you had messaged me last week, or you sent a tweet to me last week at USD, and you were asking me like what was the players' vibe, and couldn't really pick anything.
Yeah, before the
the
kickoff.
USD
Yeah.
game. I mean, they seemed focused. I didn't get like a nervous tick or anything. Like the coaches seemed like they were confident. The players seemed like they were I don't want to say locked in's the word. I don't know. That just seemed like they were ready to go. I mean, it didn't feel like and they came out ready to go. Lord knows they hit a 75-yard touchdown on the first play, and they were tied at, again, that the performance they had against that's the maddening part about this. The performance they had against USD wins against Indiana State, and they're in a much better position to win today with that kind of performance. For whatever, maybe and maybe it's one of those things where you go on the road, and when you go on the road with a team, you really have to kind of batten down the hatches a little more. You're together the whole time. When you get off a bus or your plane or whatever, you're in the hotel. Maybe it's obviously it was with USD, and we'll see what kind of crowd they get for UND this week. But typically it's a hostile environment. You have to be a little more focused and locked in. There can be more distractions at home. As much as you like to say we're sleeping in our own bed, sometimes it's just more distracting at home. Sometimes you're just more focused and locked in on the road because you have to be. And their most impressive performances, whether they've been healthy or hurt, have been on the road. I think that's telling for, it's strange to say that for a team that literally this time a month ago was in the midst of a 33-game home win streak.
Yep.
That was 1 month ago.
Yep. This is not that team.
This has been like 3 different teams, really. It's been 2 different teams, and if they win next week, it'll almost be a 3rd different team.
Right.
So, I don't know, should I try to field goal in the floor?
Yeah, I'm with that. You need points at that time, and 4th and 17. I don't know.
I mean, you get down 35-0, and you're in that mode of we got to score touchdown. What happened on the? Because I'm not sure what happened when they didn't get the extra point. They tried like a 2-point conversion, or did the guy drop a snap when they weren't?
They tried a 2-point conversion.
I heard because that's what I heard. I heard it was like some kind of a trick play, but why? I don't understand. I don't get why they're going for a trick play when
our analytics guy Alex says that is the smart play there. I don't know how the math works out, but that's just me.
I don't, because like you need I mean, and to be fair, they got a 2-point conversion the next time, so it wasn't that big of
Right.
they equalized out the points they would have they essentially lost. But when you're trying
Right.
to when you're chasing points down 35-0, I don't like to me if they let's say they'd come back, gotten within 35-34,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe I go for the 2.
Right.
Just because everything's gone our way. We're at home. You don't know what the depth is. Who knows? But at that point, maybe then I roll the dice and say, you know what? This team that we're playing has nearly blown a 35-point lead.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's in our favor. I believe in you guys. Go get the 2 and go win this bleeping game, and let's go to the playoffs.
Right.
Then I kind of get that. I don't really. It's not really worth a nitpick right now, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, because it didn't do a ton. But yeah, I mean, I late in the fourth quarter there, yeah, you probably could have you still had the whole fourth quarter to go. Field goal. I mean, I'm guessing at that point they're starting to question whether they're going to have 2 more possessions.
Mm-hmm.
You get the touchdown. Yeah, then you probably have you probably do have 2 more possessions to get 7 points.
Oh, another touchdown, Montana State.
Yeah, I mean, I will give Davis credit. They kind of hung. They've been hanging within 2 scores, but obviously it's.
Yeah.
I'm talking about how tough it is to go into Bozeman and win, and this team,
Right.
or a version of this team from SDSU, went into Bozeman and won this year.
On the Gold Rush game, no less.
On the Gold Rush game. I better not keep my head in my hands too long, or I might fall asleep.
I know, right? That's funny.
And I'm like, and I maintain this point. People don't believe this. I'm like, I'm not a full-on fan here. I'm media guy / analyst. I'm kind of pulling for the local teams because if this doesn't prove to people that I don't enjoy that I enjoy, it's a better story for those of us in the media when the local teams are winning than when they're losing. I don't know what will. Right. I don't exactly enjoy talking about a team that's lost 4 in a row and may go out on a 5-game losing streak, and especially when they're college kids. Now I understand. Yeah. I understand why Jackrabbit fans probably enjoyed watching the Coyotes, get mulched in the early part of the season. It's a rivalry. But, I don't necessarily enjoy watching the local teams struggle, but I enjoy watching them pick themselves back up and succeed. So, yeah, it's not quite, like I said, we're not quite fans of the media, but it's a better story when they're winning. It's tougher to watch a team that's losing for a lot of reasons, and it's as rough as it was for and there were some rough times a decade ago when I first got here. They weren't quite ready yet. There were some. It's been a long time since they've had a 4-game losing streak. I don't know. It's not while I was here in
14 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And 5-game losing streak would be even longer. And I
don't even want to. I can't.
Don't want to think about it yet.
I have no idea, but long time.
Yeah, but let's try and keep it positive. I know those guys are still fighting, and they're and again, you also have to let's keep some perspective too. They're college kids. I have to keep that perspective. I don't want to get too harsh on people. But you have to be a little critical and analytical at times, and this is just and this is the standard they've set. They set a I kind of hate to quote the previous guy because I know Jimmy is an interesting figure these days, but the statement is the standard.
I don't think. Yeah, he's the one to bring up after
about
injuries and depth problems.
Yeah, I get that, but either way, when you raise the bar and you win the national title 2 years in a row the way they did, there's no going back. There's no going back in terms of like the expectations.
going forward holistically will not be something that will be accepted by the fan base.
No, and
Um,
I think there should be some grace. We've been saying this year. There should be some grace because of what has happened, but there also
I will say,
there has to be a measured bit of like, okay, where is the line between grace and this is not
yeah, I
acceptable.
think it's tough to swallow because I think in Jackrabbits fans' mind, making the playoffs is the bare minimum. You're getting grace doing that, and to be honest, anything less is considered fairly unacceptable.
The line was probably Indiana State.
Yeah,
If we're
and
being realistic.
you lose if you lose that streak of 13 years straight in the playoffs, and you've already lost the 33 game home win streak thing, which is, you can understand that with
I mean, you lost to a great
playing
NDSU team. There's nothing
NDSU,
wrong with that. And
but
you were with a
then
backup quarterback. I mean, I don't
but
think
then
maybe
this, and then you potentially lose the top 25 ranking streak and potentially lose the playoff streak will be difficult to swallow. But I agree, there needs to be grace given to the staff for sure, because they haven't really gotten a full year. They didn't really get a
yeah.
real full year to put their team together.
I think there's some good recruits that are coming in. I think there's some guys who they've held and redshirted who are going to make impacts down the road. So I do believe Dan when he says he believes the program's headed in the right direction. But and again, they got off to such a great start that
Zach, they did not have as much roster turnover. Don't give me that nonsense. They absolutely did not.
Yeah, I don't think wholesale they did. I mean, they had. I will say they had some key players.
Say contributors, sure. You can say contributors, absolutely, but total roster turnover, no, they did not.
They didn't. I mean, the coach, and again, the coaching change there was entirely different. You had the coach retire, and then it was basically what happened with Stiglmeyer a few years ago. The coach retired, and then the right-hand man got promoted. There wasn't a extreme loss of recruits that I'm aware of. I think most of them stayed on with USD. And their O-line took, but yeah, that was the big difference between the two coaching changes. Is the portal was a bigger thing with this
between recruits and players alone to Washington State alone, SDSU lost 30 guys.
But I mean, the other thing too that's should be mentioned as well is that
guys.
It's not that SDSU and USD haven't gotten some good portal players back as well. It's like I think that's probably the bigger thing. It's like it isn't just that the guys who were the starters that left. I mean, that's the one that everybody kind of gets hung up on with the guys who went to Washington State or the guys who left. It's not just the guys who were starting. Some of those guys, especially those guys who were 5th or 6th year seniors, they were probably going to leave anyway. It's all the recruits and the depth pieces who left and followed. That hurt them more. And having to fill that in, that is what is the difference to me. I mean, for me, USD lost more of their starting cast and a lot of the guys, and I think that was a tougher adjustment for them at the start, but they still had some more depth behind it. And we've seen that. I mean, Fenner had been on the team. I think Fenner had been on the team for a while, and he just kind of developed, and he's turned into a pretty good player. SDSU lost some, I don't know how many of those guys would have been. I'm not saying they all would have been stars. Some of them already, I said this last week, like Maxwell Woods. I think he would have been a terrific running back here. He's barely even playing at Washington State. Any of those running backs at this point. I'm not saying any of those guys would have been stars, but their depth, it's just, that's what hurt more with Washington State is it's the guys who you probably hadn't heard of as opposed to Tucker Large and, Durant and those guys, because some of them were probably going to leave anyway. Even if Jimmy had stayed, they might have wanted to go. If they were 4th or 5th year guys, they were probably going to go anyway. It's the guys who are younger who had years and time that would have filled in depth. That hurt more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and yeah. I don't know.
it's tough to talk.
I'm
I
too
hate that we're
tired
still
to
talking
do
about
that
that
argument right
issue.
now. Because in
I
the
hate
end,
we're
it
still
doesn't
talking about
matter.
that 11 weeks into a year.
Yeah, in the end, it doesn't matter. SDSU, as it sits right now, is not in the playoffs, and USD is absolutely in the playoffs.
Well,
That is what it is.
But it is the football season is a thing that it takes a lot of twists and turns, and until it's over, it's never. Yogi Berra was the one who said it's never over till it's over. I mean, it's each week is its own thing, and they could come out next week and play very well and win that game, and because I don't think UND is playing that well right now. I mean, obviously they had I think there's a little bit of a hangover. I think there's probably a lot of a hangover effect from the North Dakota State game because, as much as that rivalry between the Jackson, we've talked about it a little bit with as much as that rivalry with the marker means in that series. I mean, the Hawks, for UND, that whole program, even though I think Schmidt's got it on a better trajectory and they're in a better place than they were with Bubba, having that game in Grand Forks, that's like the whole community and the football program revolves around it. I mean, to lose that game, there was probably going to be a hangover today at Murray State, and there was. I think it was I don't know. I can't remember if they were up or they were down 9-7 against Murray at half.
Yep.
And it was kind of similar, a little similar to probably what happened with SDSU prior to the.
However, they shook it off.
Yeah, they shook it off, and it's going to happen because Murray's just that bad. Murray can't get out of their own way at this point. But I want to read that. Wow. Well, interesting. Yeah, I'll have to read that later. I mean, I know that was a tight one and a tough one for them, but no, I think I think that it was 9-7 down at half, and I mean but again they lost. They didn't play well at USD either the week before. They nearly got it together, but they played badly for 3 quarters. USD had a lot to do with that, but they didn't.
Right.
Kaminsky has not played well over the 2 weeks. Like he had some bad interceptions against the Coyotes. He threw a couple picks against the Bison. I'll have to look up his numbers here from today, but you're not. This was a guy that they were kind of talking about how, I don't think he was in the running for the Peyton, but he was certainly a guy people were maybe talking about as a, potential, second team, all honorable mention, all conference quarterback. And he's not looked like that. He didn't look like that against the Coyotes. He didn't look like that against the Bison. And, looking at his numbers now, I've got it finally pulled up here against 0-11 Murray State. He was 11 of 18 for $131 and a touchdown and a pick. So, you are playing, you're going in against a quarterback who's kind of struggling right now.
Yep.
We'll see. I mean, I do think UND is fighting for their playoff lives, even though, if they lose, they're 7-5, but they do have an FBS loss, and it was a one they almost won. So could they still get in at 7-5 if they're on a 3-game losing streak going in? I don't know. That
right.
They have to be treating this like it's a playoff game too. That's the other half of it. It'll be interesting. I think I think the big thing is that I think SDSU is still pretty good against the run defensively, and they've got Sawyer Seidel, who's kind of he was when I did watch them in person, he was the one that impressed me the most. Like that's a dude at running back.
Right.
And he ran for 96 today. I think the Jackrabbit run defense is still for the most, other than LJ Phillips, who I think we can kind of, I don't want to say, again, I hate to be giving them passes or grace, but I think we can kind of somewhat definitively say Phillips is a dude in and of himself. So, I don't think it's necessarily a shame to give up 100, the game they gave up to him. But, even today, although today I guess the Jacks did give up almost 100 to Victor Dawson, but again, I don't know how
Yeah.
I don't know how much that matters, because when you get down that much, I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to run a lot.
Yeah, I mean, as weird as it is, I agree with some other people. I don't think the defense played that badly. They just, after that first drive, they just were, they were behind the 8 ball. They were buried from the start.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think I'm about
Yeah, you've been at this
Yeah.
for about
Yeah.
30 minutes longer than me. So,
So been at it for about an hour and a half now. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
We hope we provided some therapy for you.
Yeah,
I didn't fall asleep.
Yeah, right. Yay. We have at least one more of these to go. Hopefully
more.
another one or two. We will find out as the day goes on, or as the week goes on here. But still one more shot to turn this around and make it a season. So with that, go big, go blue, go Jacks. And we appreciate everybody who hangs out there with us, subscribes, likes, and listens. We appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great night, folks.
Yep. Peace.